This is Bloomberg Businessweek with Carol Massar and Tim Stenovec on Bloomberg Radio.
All right, well, get this. Global cybercrime costs are set to reach $10.5 trillion. That's right, trillion with a T, trillion dollars each year by 2025. So that's up from $3 trillion in 2015. And that's according to data from Cybersecurity Ventures. And that was cited in a report out from EY last year.
Just think about that recent computer hack that shut down many services at MGM's casino hotels. The company said that hack alone, Carol, is going to reduce third quarter profit by about $100 million. I mean, that's real money here.
Absolutely. So cybercrime and protecting data in the cloud is something our next guest knows a lot about. Sanjay Poonen is the CEO at Cohesity. It's a data security and data management platform. He's also the former COO at the cloud computing and visualization or virtualization tech company, VMware. He joins us here in our Bloomberg Interactive Broker studio. Welcome, welcome. How are you?
Thank you, Tim, and Carol for having me on.
Hey, listen, before we get into kind of security, cybercrime, all that good stuff, it's interesting times for anybody who's running a company, whether it's the focus on geopolitical and the unrest and the concerns, obviously first and foremost, the impact on lives, but also the uncertainty that also creates about kind of the global outlook. There's also concerns about, certainly here in the U.S., about the rate environment, the economy. From your vantage point, how would you describe the global outlook right now?
I think it's a tremendous opportunity for leadership. I think as a CEO, and I was COO of VMware, we had 35,000 employees. I was president of SAP, 100,000 employees. Both were global companies. My company here is smaller, 2,000 employees, but an important company in cybersecurity. It's a time for leaders to lead with empathy. I have employees who are Israeli, friends who are in Israel, and I think in Israel, everybody knows somebody who's affected.
Agreed.
Either who's a hostage or died or somebody infected. And the other side of the debate's also being affected now in Gaza, if you look what's happening. So this is a time where we get to lead, first off, condemning terrorism, but also leading with empathy. It's a tremendous opportunity for us to be, as leaders, empathetic, listening to our employees. And I've always believed the greatest companies are the ones who take care of their employees and take care of their customers. And that's what I seek to do as CEO.
It's also a business story, and we're Bloomberg, so we got to talk about the business side of this. But we spent a lot of last week talking about Israel being a hub for cybersecurity. They made a lot of advances there, and there are a lot of tech companies in Israel, prominent ones that have been bought by U.S. companies. Do you have any exposure to Israel? Do you work with any Israeli companies right now?
Oh, absolutely. We work with a lot of, in fact, a big part of our cybersecurity strategy, Tim, is partnership with many Israeli companies. Big ID, Diggs, Cyera, Centra. Folks in the cybersecurity, data security, there are companies who are physically located there. Wiz. I talk to them. I talk to many CEOs. I've sent them messages, checked to see how they're doing. The heart of innovation of security. It's not a very big country in terms of population, a few million people, but they have an intense program by which people who've served in the Israeli Defense Forces are often focused on security and then start companies. So we're working very closely with them. Every one of them, this is a tough time for them, and their attention is first to their families. But I do believe that Israel will be resilient. The innovation will continue to grow. And, many of them do business with companies like us. We partner with them. So I expect it to be something that will be resilient over time.
Sanjay, I mean, they are used to, instability in the region, no doubt about it. This takes it to a whole other level and another scale. And that's certainly what we've heard, the feedback in terms of this latest conflict between Israel and Hamas. Having said that, when you had those conversations, were leaders there saying, we expect this is something different. This is going to be a longer period of instability? Or what are they saying?
It's a 9/11 type moment. It's not anything close to, anything they expected. So whether it was the first intifada and so on. But I think, listen, if you think about the threat, cybersecurity threat, it's different from, some of the ways in which we're seeing nation state actors. I think this is a focus on physical security. So if we come back to kind of some of the stats that you led the show off with, that will continue. I don't see cyber criminals, the nation state actors, from which are, by the way, from a different set of countries. This isn't Hamas. It's Russia, it's China, it's North Korea in the past.
What is the biggest threat? Which is the biggest
the
threat?
nation state actors are the biggest threat to cybersecurity.
So
the
Russia, China?
Yeah, those countries are the ones, mostly Russia, in fact, in the past. But and we haven't seen an uptick in that signal of those just because of the Hamas. Hamas is a much more more of a it's not like Hamas is doing cybersecurity threats against the U.S. They're focused on much more low-tech, sort of missiles and things of that kind. But I think we have to always stay vigilant because the bad guys are going to look for any moment for us. They just have to be successful once. I'm talking about cybercrime now. We have to be successful all the time. You talked about
you hear that over and over again from cybersecurity experts. I mean, they're talking about, hey, you always have to be vigilant because they only have to be successful once. Switching geographies a little bit to talk about Russia, Ukraine. Russia, the source of much cybercrime. What do you see on your platform from attempts at hacking from Russia?
Yeah, there's 20 ransomware attempts every second. You talked about a few of the hotel chains that have been affected recently. I think every organization needs to build a prevention and detection mechanism and a recovery mechanism. I'll give you an example. There's a lot of analogies between fighting cybercrime and fighting disease. If someone told you, Tim, I'll never get a cold, you'd be like, well, give me some of your DNA. Yeah. The more important question is how quickly can you recover from a cold? So what we advise our clients is to ensure that you have the best detection and prevention. That's basically detecting do you have a cold. But then in our case, if you are one of those hotels that got affected, you want to recover really quickly. Because then if you get affected, you've got all of your data ready, and that's what we focus on: cyber recovery and cyber resilience. So while a lot of the prevention and detection technologies will be helpful and continue to be the ones that put our defenses up, you also want to be in place where if you do get hit, and it may sometimes not be a matter of if but when, you have a very fast recovery. And that's what so assume you're going to get hit. How would you recover quickly? That's the big part of what we help our clients with.
So who are your typical clients?
We have 4,000 customers, some of the biggest Fortune 100 customers, but these are companies like Nationwide, like Broadcom, like NVIDIA, like Salesforce. Many of the largest customers. Financial services have been extremely successful for us. And these are all companies who do invest in security. Cybersecurity is often a top priority of spending. So we fit in that mode of sort of, protecting the world's data. Our mission is to protect the world's data from cyber criminals.
One thing I wonder, Sanjay, two things. Artificial intelligence, and have you seen an uptick as a result of that and kind of creeping into our narrative and conversation in a big way this year? And then secondly, since the Hamas-Israel conflict, have you seen an uptick in people calling you or upping some of the work that they do with you?
Any world crisis is a moment where I think our vigilance needs to be higher. And we have not seen an exact correlation because of Hamas to nation-state crime, but I believe our vigilance should be higher. The last thing we want to do is let our guard down. That's absolutely the case. So my advice to people is, it's not just because of Hamas, but look at what happened with the Las Vegas Strip hotels. Just keep your vigilance high.
But when you see something like that in the headlines, do you get an uptick, or I'm just curious if you see a direct impact?
We haven't seen a significant, just in the last, remember it's last Saturday or 2 Saturdays ago when this all started. We haven't seen a significant, but we are all vigilant. One of our board members is a gentleman named Kevin Mandier, who's one of the biggest cyber fighters in the world. Yeah. His company called Mandiant sees a lot. When something gets hit, Congress, the government usually calls him. So he's on our board. I called him, talked to him. We keep pretty close eye on it. And my perspective is stay vigilant because it could go up, it could go down. The point is that I think on the other part of your question related to AI, I think it's a tremendous opportunity for us to harness the best out of artificial intelligence, especially generative AI, and treat it a little bit like that age-old question about a matchstick. Is fire a blessing or a curse? Okay, a Pyromax could turn a house on fire, but it's going to keep us warm. Right. We've got, as the tech leaders in the industry, we've got to find the ways to put guardrails around this. We call it responsible AI. Put guardrails around it so that people can't do irresponsible things with it, but still harness its potential, which I think generative AI is the most fundamental innovation I've seen in 20, 30 years.
I'm curious what a guardrail means. We're running out of time. 20 seconds, 25 seconds. What is a guardrail around AI?
It's what keeps a train on tracks, right? That's what a guardrail is. It's a set of rails that ensures that the technology can't be abused.
So you can have a guardrail, but still tap into the potential of generative AI.
That's exactly what good, responsible tech companies like us and Microsoft and Google and others are doing. And that's what we're focused on. Our generative AI technology is far ahead of everybody else in the industry, but we're guardrailing it with what we call a responsible AI framework.
Interesting stuff. Come back soon.
Thank you very much.
We would love.
Appreciate
Sanjay.
it.
Yeah, really interesting conversation. Sanjay Poonen, he's the CEO at Cohesity.